Hello everyone. In the last three presentations, the various aspects of freedom of speech and expression guaranteed under Article 19(1)(a), the restrictions that can be imposed on this right under Article 19(2), the freedoms guaranteed under subclauses B, C, D and E of Clause 1 of Article 19, and the restrictions that can be imposed on the exercise of these freedoms as provided under clauses 3 to 5 of Article 19 have been dealt with. In this presentation, an attempt would be made to explain the various aspects of the right to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade or business guaranteed under Article 19(1)(g) and the restrictions that can be imposed on this right under Clause 6 of Article 19. Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution guarantees to all citizens the right to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade or business. This freedom also is not absolute, as Clause 6 of the article authorizes legislation which imposes reasonable restrictions on this right in the interest of the general public, prescribes professional or technical qualifications necessary for carrying on any profession, trade or business, and enables the state to carry on any trade or business to the exclusion of private citizens wholly or partially. When we say that there is a right to carry on a business, it would include the right to close down or relinquish or sell the business. But this right cannot be equated with the right not to start or carry on a business at all. The right to closure is not an absolute right, and it can be controlled by law in the interest of general public. Accordingly, in Exilware versus Union of India, the court recognized the right of the employers not to be compelled to continue the business despite it being unviable and impracticable. A business cannot be compelled to go on incurring losses year after year merely in public interest. Accordingly, the impugned provisions were held unconstitutional by recognizing the right to closure. In Fertilizer Corporation Kamgar Union versus Union of India, it was held that the closure of an establishment in which a workman is for the time being employed does not by itself infringe his fundamental right to carry on an occupation guaranteed by Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution. Mere fact of retrenchment of some workers does not necessarily result in violation of the right to carry on an occupation under Article 19(1)(g). The right under Article 19(1)(g) must be exercised without adversely affecting human dignity, and sexual harassment in the exercise of this right at the workplace amounts to its violation. As we have already seen, restrictions can be imposed on the exercise of this right, but they have to be in the interest of the general public and must be reasonable. The expression in the interest of general public includes public order, public health, public security, morals, economic welfare of the community, and the objects mentioned in Part 4, that is the directive principles of the Constitution. In order to determine the reasonableness of the restrictions, the nature of the business and the conditions prevailing in that trade have to be taken into consideration. The test of reasonableness has to be viewed in the context of the issues faced by the legislature. In judging their validity, the court must approach the problem from the point of view of furthering the social interest which the legislation intends to promote. Standards of morality can afford a guidance to impose restrictions but cannot limit the scope of the right. Certain trades and activities can be excluded from the purview of Article 19(1)(g) on the basis of their adverse and unacceptable moral and social effects. What are the instances where the restrictions imposed on the exercise of the right under Article 19(1)(g) have been considered reasonable in the interest of general public? Let us see. When there is scarcity of certain essential commodities or in an emergency situation, in the interest of general public, it may be necessary to impose control on the production, supply, distribution and storage of commodities essential to the life of the community. Requirement of permit for production, transport, storage and distribution of essential commodities and fixation of maximum prices of such commodities by orders passed by the central government, which is authorized in this regard under the Essential Commodities Act, are not unreasonable restrictions on the freedom of trade. Laws regulating payment of minimum wages to workers in industries and payment of gratuity to an employee after putting in 5 years continuous service are not unreasonable restrictions. Again, law regulating the hours of employment of employees and opening and closing hours of establishments cannot be said to constitute an unreasonable restriction on the right to carry on trade or business. Increasing the number of national and festival holidays also has been upheld as a reasonable restriction. The fundamental right of a citizen under Article 19(1)(g) is not infringed if a tax is levied by the government under legal authority. But a tax without the authority of law can be challenged under Article 32 or Article 226. Imposing license fees or requirement of license from a person who wants to engage himself in a trade or occupation amounts to a restriction on the freedom guaranteed by Article 19(1)(g), and its validity has to be tested under Clause 6 of Article 19. If the condition for granting license is unreasonable, it will be held violative of the guarantee of freedom of trade and business. In Dwaraka Prasad versus State of UP, the Supreme Court held that a law or order which gives arbitrary powers to the government and its officials to grant, refuse, or cancel a license without assigning any reason and without giving any opportunity to the applicant to be heard imposes unreasonable restriction on the right of the citizens to carry on any profession, trade, or business. Creating monopoly rights in favor of a person or body of persons to carry on any business mainly affects the freedom of trade. But it cannot be said that in no circumstance the exclusion of competition so as to create a monopoly is justified. The nature of the business will be an important element in determining legality of the exclusion of competition in any particular case. The word restriction used in Clause 6 is wide enough to include cases of total prohibition also. Even if the effect of law is the elimination of the dealers from the trade, the law may be valid provided it satisfies the test of reasonableness. Normally, when the state carries on any trade or industry, it must be done either departmentally or through its officers appointed in that behalf. But there may be some trade or business in which it would be inconvenient to undertake the work of trade or business departmentally or with the assistance of state service. In such cases, it would be open to the state to employ the services of agents, provided the agents work on behalf of the state and not for themselves. In Kode Distilleries Limited versus State of Karnataka, the Supreme Court held that a citizen has no fundamental right to trade or business in activities which are immoral and criminal, and in articles or goods which are obnoxious and injurious to health, safety, and welfare of general public. Hence, a citizen has no right to carry on trade or business in liquors as beverages. The state has the power to prohibit the manufacture, sale, possession, distribution, and consumption, both because it is a dangerous article of consumption and also because of the directive principle contained in Article 47, except when it is used for medicinal purposes. The state can create monopoly in such business either in itself or in any agency created for this purpose. The restrictions on the right to trade in liquor can be imposed not only by law enacted by the legislature but also by any subordinate legislation. It can be regulated and restricted even by executive order provided it is issued by the governor of the state. The word business is more comprehensive than the word trade since it includes manufacture, while the word trade may not ordinarily include the same. In Nashirwar versus State of Madhya Pradesh, the Supreme Court held against the fundamental right of citizen to carry on trade or do business in liquor. However, it was clarified in State of Kerala versus Surendra Das that in case the liquor trade is permitted, there cannot be any scope for discrimination by the state among the traders inter se. Similarly, the trade in betting and gambling have also been held to fall outside the scope of Article 19(1)(g). No citizen has a fundamental right to insist on the government or any other individual to do business with him or her. In BR Enterprises versus State of Uttar Pradesh, the Supreme Court held that the lottery contains an element of chance and therefore cannot be a trade or commerce but is gambling. The difference between gambling and trade is that gambling inherently contains a chance with no skill, while trade contains skill with no element of chance. What makes lottery bad is its gambling nature, and ban imposed by the state on the sale of lotteries is constitutional and not violative of Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution. Prohibition of lockouts and strikes is within the prohibitory powers of government in the interest of general public. Example, to keep the utility services running. The right to practice any profession does not include right to carry on any illegal or immoral profession. The state has a right to prohibit trades which are illegal or immoral or injurious to the health and welfare of the public. However, in Godavat Pan Masala Products Private Limited versus Union of India, the Supreme Court held that the ban on manufacture, sale, storage or distribution of pan masala and gutka for 5 years under Section 7(4) of the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act was violative of Articles 14 and 19(1)(g) of the Constitution, as the restriction could have been on sale to underage persons and not by way of total ban. In Health for Millions Trust versus Union of India, the Supreme Court held that government guidelines issued under the Cigarettes and Other Tobacco Products Packaging and Labeling Rules 2008, as amended in 2014, requiring inter alia increase in display area of warnings, introduction of pictorial warnings in more specific language, and modifying rotation of period for replacing warning images were held to be valid, giving primacy to the right to health over the business interests of the tobacco industry. There is no right to carry on business at a particular place. The state may impose reasonable restrictions in the interest of general public. Thus, a competent authority may reasonably fix a place for a bus stand, a cinema house, or a liquor shop. In Muhammad Hanif Qureshi versus State of Bihar, the Supreme Court held that the total ban on the slaughter of cows of all ages and their calves is reasonable and valid. Similarly, a total ban on the slaughter of she-buffaloes or breeding bulls or working bulls, as long as they are capable of being used as milk or draught cattle, is reasonable and valid. However, a total ban on the slaughter of she-buffaloes, bulls and bullocks after they ceased to be capable of yielding milk or of breeding or working as draught animals is not in the interest of the general public and is invalid. In Municipal Corporation versus Jan Muhammad Usman Bhai, the court held that closure of slaughterhouses on 7 days in a year, as specified in a standing order, did not in any way put an unreasonable restriction on the right of the respondent beef dealer under Article 19(1)(g). In State of Gujarat versus Mirzapur Moti Qureshi Kasab Jamaat, the ban imposed on the slaughter of cow progeny by Section 5 of the Bombay Animal Preservation Gujarat Amendment Act 1994 was held to be in the interest of the general public and a reasonable restriction within the meaning of Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution, because cow and her progeny are the backbone of Indian agriculture and economy. In Hinsa Virodhak Sangh versus Mirzapur Moti Qureshi Kasab Jamaat, the closure of municipal slaughterhouses for 9 days during religious festival of Jain community was held not to be an unreasonable restriction on the rights of butchers to carry on trade and business. In Srinivasa General Traders versus State of Andhra Pradesh, the Supreme Court held that marketing legislation which sought to enable producers to get a fair price for their commodities by eliminating middlemen and providing a regulated market could not be said to impose unreasonable restriction on the citizens' right to do business unless it was established that the provisions were too drastic to achieve the object for which it was enacted. In Bombay Hawkers Union versus Bombay Municipal Corporation, it was held that a law that regulates licensing of hawkers on the streets does not impose unreasonable restrictions on the right of hawkers under Article 19(1)(g). In Sodhan Singh versus New Delhi Municipal Committee, while recognizing the right of the individual to carry on trade or business on street pavements, the Supreme Court held that this right is subject to reasonable restrictions that may be imposed in the public interest. But the right extends only to hawking on the pavements by moving from one place to another without being stationary on any part of the pavement vested in the state as trustee. Public streets being part of the territory of India, the right to engage in street hawking cannot be completely curtailed. However, the Supreme Court from time to time has insisted on a balance between the rights of street vendors and pedestrians. In Maharashtra Ekta Hawkers Union versus Municipal Corporation Greater Mumbai, the Supreme Court held that till the enactment of suitable legislation, the right of street vendors must be regulated by the National Policy on Urban Street Vendors 2009 and emphasized on creation of hawking zones. Prohibition on private practice by doctors in medical education service of state has been held as reasonable restriction on the right under Article 19(1)(g) in Sukumar Mukherjee versus State of West Bengal. In Union of India versus Moolchand Khairati Ram Trust, the Supreme Court held that members of the medical profession have constitutional duty to treat have-nots. When government land has been allotted to hospitals, they would not be doing free service but being recipient of government largesse at concessional rates and continuing to enjoy it, they owe a duty to act in the public interest. State can also impose such obligation when government land is held by such hospitals and it is a constitutional obligation imposed upon such hospitals. Thus, the stipulation for free treatment does not amount to restriction under Article 19(6) on the right enshrined in Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution. The right to freedom of trade, business, or occupation includes the right to establish and run educational institutions subject to reasonable restrictions which are found necessary in the general public interest. The restrictions on such right can be imposed only by law and not by executive instructions. However, the right to affiliation or recognition of an educational institution upon fulfillment of the prescribed conditions have no impact on Article 19(1)(g). The power of the state to regulate admissions in medical colleges subject to common entrance test and fixation of fees have been upheld in Modern Dental College and Research Center versus State of Madhya Pradesh. However, the Supreme Court in Maharshi Markandeshwar Medical College and Hospital versus State of Himachal Pradesh held that if once a private university is established under the law enacted by the legislature of the state, and if it is empowered to establish colleges, then insistence of the state government to seek affiliation of another university by the colleges established by the private university is in violation of Article 19(1)(g). If the distribution of state largesse, such as dealership in petroleum products by government undertakings, guidelines making the near relatives of those who already have such dealership ineligible for consideration, has been held reasonable restriction in public interest. As regards unreasonable restrictions, the vital principle which has to be kept in mind is that restrictive law should strike a proper balance between the freedom guaranteed under Article 19(1)(g) and the social control permitted by Clause 6 of Article 19. The restriction must not be of an excessive nature beyond what is required in the interest of the public. A law which confers arbitrary and uncontrolled power upon the executive in the matter of regulating trade or business will not be considered reasonable. To sustain the reasonableness of the restriction, the Act must furnish sufficient guidance to the executive in the matter of exercise of discretionary power. Such guidance or policy need not in all cases be expressly and specifically stated. It is enough if such guidance can be found on a fair reading of the Act and the other concerning circumstances. The freedom of occupation, like the freedom of speech or association, has also a negative aspect, and if one does not start a business at all, under no circumstances he could be compelled to start work. By imposing reasonable restrictions, he can be prohibited from his right to carry on business, but the greater the restriction, the more the need for strict scrutiny by the court. A law laying down professional or technical qualifications necessary for practicing any profession or carrying on any occupation, trade, or business is saved. There is no condition of reasonableness as to the qualifications prescribed for carrying on any profession or trade. The court will not have power to decide if the technical or professional qualification laid down by a law in respect of any trade or business is reasonable or not. Now, coming to subclause 2 of clause 6 of Article 19, which was added by the first constitutional amendment in 1951, the freedom of profession, trade, or business conferred by Article 19(1)(g) will not be assumed to mean to prevent the state from undertaking either directly or through a corporation owned or controlled by it any trade, business, or industry or service, whether to the exclusion, complete or partial, of citizens or otherwise. The creation of state monopolies shall not be considered to deprive a citizen of freedom of trade and occupation. The validity of a law creating state monopoly or permitting nationalization of a trade or business shall not be open to challenge either on the ground that the restrictions imposed by it are unreasonable or that they are not in the interests of the general public. The amendment does not make the establishment of such monopoly a reasonable restriction within the meaning of the first clause of Article 19(6). The result of the amendment is that a state would not have to justify such action as reasonable in a court of law, and no objection could be taken to it on the ground that it is an infringement of the right guaranteed under Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution. A law falling within the protection of Article 19(6)(2) relating to a state monopoly cannot in the context include all the provisions contained in the said law, whether they have direct relation with the creation of monopoly or not. It should be a law relating to the monopoly in its absolutely essential features. If a law is passed creating state monopoly, the court should inquire what are the provisions of the said law which are basically and essentially necessary for creating the state monopoly. It is only the essential and basic provisions which are protected by Article 19(6)(2). If there are other provisions made by the Act which are subsidiary, incidental, or helpful to the operation of the monopoly, they do not fall under the said part, and their validity must be judged under the first part of Article 19(6). Further, if such a law directly affects any other of the several rights guaranteed by the 6 subclauses of Article 19(1), the validity of the law has to be justified under the relevant subclause permitting reasonable restrictions on such right. This, in brief, is the explanation of the various freedoms guaranteed under Clause 1 of Article 19, along with reasonable restrictions that can be imposed on these freedoms as contained in Clauses 2 to 6 of Article 19. Thank you.